Hey, welcome to today's first Chesapeake Chat session. I'm Ron Therian, First Chesapeake's Director of Programs, and I'm here to introduce the first Chesapeake Chat sponsor by Newport News Shipbuilding. Right, tonight we're going to talk about creative ways teams are starting to meet, specifically oriented towards FRC teams, but I think there's a lot of FTC and FRC that are kind of overlap here. Just for some housekeeping, we're going to let each speaker present for a little bit. I'm going to call on them to introduce themselves and their team and what kind of team they are. And then we'll hold questions till later, but feel free to enter them in the chat as we go along. Okay. All right, welcome everybody. Why don't we start with Chuck? Go ahead and introduce yourselves. You're muted.
All right. How about that?
Good.
Starting off right here. Okay, so yeah, my name is Chuck Troutman. I'm the team advisor for FRC 1629 GACO, short for Garrett Coalition, up here in Garrett County, Maryland. We're rural school district in the Appalachian part of Maryland. We have just about 3,500 students in our entire school system. We have 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools. So we're definitely a school-based team, and we draw our students. We have about 30 students, and we draw them from both of our high schools, Northern and Southern Garrett High Schools. We're very creative in how we name our schools up here. And so Southern's on the southern end, Northern's on the northern end. About half of our students are female, and we're very active in our schools and our community.
I did the same thing. What are you guys doing to meet right now?
Okay, to meet. So at the very beginning, as soon as this started, actually we were scheduled to compete at Madonna, and that was our first competition for last season. And so yeah, as soon as that was canceled, the schools were canceled as well. And so we hopped on Google Meet, and since then we've been meeting fairly regularly. I mean, we've taken some weeks off, but we like to meet regularly every week. Every Monday night, we have a Google Meet. Students that are able to hop on, they hop on, and we give as many updates and plan for upcoming events as best as we can. Of course, our events are very, very limited now. So any chance that we can get to meet with students, bring students in. There was a small window of opportunity where we were able to bring to meet together face-to-face in person towards the first part of July. And so we took advantage of that to get materials together and make preparations for our virtual tech camp. So that worked well for our advantage. This year, we're starting a robotics internship, a GACO internship. So I have a senior now who's able to meet with me for half the day for the entire school year. So we're able to get some things done. She's going to be helping to coach some of our school-based FLL teams as well as our FTC teams as well. So.
Are you guys looking to send stuff home with, having the physical thing like you did with the summer camps?
Possibly. Our at-home tech camps were definitely very encouraging. We were encouraged by the success that we had with those camps, and we like that model a lot. So we've been thinking that we would like to do it again before next summer in some fashion, maybe a weekend camp. But right now, everyone's so busy trying to just get school started as best as we can that that's been kind of put on hold. We found other opportunities to kind of make a difference in our schools. So we're concentrating on those too. So maybe we could talk about them later on.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things we probably want to, because I think for the folks that can't do something physical, if you can do, it doesn't necessarily have to be directly related to your robot, but if you can be out there doing things as a team, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you have to do something.
Right. Most of the kids are virtualed out.
Absolutely. But then you just have to take advantage of every opportunity. Life is all about what you do with Plan B. I tell my team that all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Mia, you want to go next?
I'm Mia. I'm on 2199, the Robo Lion. I'm a senior on the team, and we're based out of Carroll County, Maryland. We're a community-based team, and we're currently working on a lot of individual projects. So we like to prioritize using subgroups throughout the season, whether it's build season, off season, all the time. And that didn't really change with COVID. We were able to prioritize having 4 meetings a week. So we have Monday nights, we have our web design meetings, which we're currently working on revamping our website to make things a little bit more accessible and having more resources out there for the community. We also have meetings for our adaptive golf, which is basically we're making a handicap accessible, a paraplegic wheelchair that can play golf.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool.
Do you have anything you can share later, potentially with us, that you can show us pictures or something?
Yeah, I think I could be able to show you something.
Yeah.
And then we also have our programming meetings. Yeah, pictures are on Facebook. We have programming meetings also once a week. We're currently working on making a scouting app for our team. And then every single Wednesday, we make sure that the whole team comes together to just kind of talk about what we're doing and our next steps. We are also working on other outreach projects right now. So over the summer, we were able to do summer camps, which we hosted Scratch summer camps for programming, as well as hands-on little engineering projects. And we decided that was something that we were still able to do a little bit going into the school year. So we're going to be working with our top spinners and going into some of the Carroll County schools and making basically we're going to do top spinner projects, which we're going to, instead of going in person and be able to teach in person, which is something that obviously we cannot do, we're going to be making videos and sending those home with a kit for the students. And we're also going to be, I think on Halloween, we're doing a pumpkin smash, which we're not exactly sure if that's going to be happening in the library or at or online or everything that's going on with that.
So just one quick question is what's roughly the size of your team?
There's about, I think, 19 students, 15 to 20 students, but I think 19. Yeah, there's 3 girls on our team.
And Chuck, what's the size of yours?
I'm okay. So you caught me off guard.
We can go back to it.
I'm going to say about 30.
Okay.
30. It's hard to tell. We graduated lots of seniors last year. So yeah.
I mean, one of the things that, and we even touched on in the FTC side of it earlier, was one of the problems that everybody has is the FTC teams tend to be smaller, so it's a lot easier to come up with a plan to get them to meet. Where FRC teams with more kids, you've got to deal with how do you keep more of that many kids active and distanced. Mm-hmm. It's a lot tougher of a problem. And then the other side of it is which maybe we can hit on later also, is recruiting. Most how you normally recruited was through the school, and at the trying to get the freshmen to come on, and there was no way to get that. So that's another thing. We'll come back to that question. But Dave, you want to go ahead?
Sure. And that was a great lead in. So I'm Dave Albert. I'm with Atholton High School's Team 2537, the Space Raiders. And they are a fairly large team. It's a school-based team. They typically have been around 75 students. It varies year to year. We usually start out the year with 40 or 50 left over from the prior year, and then some numbers sign up each year. Atholton is having its back to school night where new students sign up, I think tonight actually, and it's a virtual event, so we'll see what we actually end up with for this year. The team's been very busy over the summer, I think because many students weren't able to participate in other things that they normally do. there were meetings almost every day by Zoom and by Google Meet. So they've been planning their training. And I think there was the expectation that this year we would be facing, because of COVID, pretty much a virtual fall season at a minimum, and quite possibly beyond that. So we've spent a lot of time, and the students have spent a lot of time focused on coming up with solutions where students could do hands-on activities that would give them a lot of the training that we normally would like to do, but do it from home in a different context. And whenever, Ron, you want to start talking about those, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and talk about some of that stuff now, because I'm just looking. There's not a lot of questions came in there, so go ahead.
Sure. So the Atholton team is broken up into the 4 traditional groups: operations, electrical, mechanical, and software. And I'll start with software, because Atholton uses Java for software development. And software training has traditionally been one of the bigger problems for FRC teams. It has a big barrier to entry. Usually we do development on small robots. So we start students out on small robots based on the Andy Mark Peanut chassis. I can share a screen if you want to see what that looks like. In fact, let me do that.
Because I'm not sure everybody knows the peanut frame.
I have to.
I guess while you're doing that, right? The peanut frame makes for a smaller robot, but you're using all the same electronics you would use on the big one, right? Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let me try this again.
So it's not a cheap solution, basically.
It is not a cheap solution. So here we go. So this is Andy Mark's Peanut chassis, and it can be built. And we build variations on this. So we have 4 of these now. Sometimes we build them with 4-wheel drive, and those can be used with mechanisms. Sometimes we make the 2-wheel drive bot, but it uses the full FRC control plane. So Robo Rios and the same motor controllers. So it's small enough that you can drive it around a classroom, and we put a cap on the power that can be delivered to the motors so that it's reasonably safe. But this year that's out. So we wanted a solution that wasn't just classroom style, learn Java by rote. And so we focused on a tool that was developed by IBM called Robocode. And Robocode is a virtual BattleBots trainer. You program the robots. So this is what a Robocode battle might look like. You program the robots in Java, and then put them in the arena to battle it out. You can have many robots in the same arena, and they shoot at each other and take damage. And it's a pretty sophisticated game. It can be. It can also be very simple. This is sort of a trivial, minimal robot. Right? Can't get a whole lot simpler than that.
No.
But the flow of control and the style of programming is very similar to what we do in FRC. Oops, that's not a good idea. Is very similar to what we do in FRC. And so it's a good trainer tool, and it's very interactive. Kids can very quickly start writing code and battling bots. So we have we started a set of lessons. They're available on the team wiki, and anybody can use them. Many of them right now are in Google Documents. We're transferring them to the wiki as we go. But the wiki page has, and I'll post it here, the wiki page has instructions on where to download the code and how to get set up and get students started. So I just posted that in the chat. If we end up going into, if we continue with COVID restrictions on school access, the plan is to step the students into battling real bots that are built by the mechanical team and the electrical team, but small robots, either the peanut robots or possibly smaller robots. We're hoping to do it inexpensively enough that students may even be able to have individual robots at home. Things like these sort of inexpensive Raspberry Pi Zero-based robots that still, you program them in Java. They can have ultrasonics, and we're going to mount Class 1 lasers on them so they can play laser tag. So it's as close to the virtual BattleBots as we can get. On the mechanical side, the students are doing Onshape training. So Onshape is a fully online CAD system So it's entirely browser-based. Students don't have to have any special equipment at home. And there are a set of lessons that we're migrating their way onto the Team Wiki that walk the students through developing those skills. And then we're going to be distributing to them materials, including hand drills and some hacksaws and some various tools that will let them do work with aluminum and polycarb. And they're going to build hands-on frames at home if they have parental permission and supervision. And the electrical team is focused on training. I can share a screen again if you want. On training using Arduinos. And
so students have their own Arduino at home. Is that?
That's right. We purchased, if you buy them, see if I can find it. If you buy them from AliExpress or a few other sources, you can get Arduinos pretty inexpensively. You can make a whole kit for under $10 with breadboard and wires, LEDs, ultrasonic sensors, and so on. So there are a set of lessons. The students can follow these lessons a step at a time. There's instructional stuff about basic electricity. So we've tried to shift to an online model with as much hands-on work as possible, where the students can learn the skills we want them to learn, but still have that hands-on experience, so it's not boring.
Right. And I'm just picturing this of, I don't know how many kids that you would buy those for, but if you got to buy 20 of them or something, the cost is of the essence, where you want to keep stuff relatively cheap.
Yes. That's why, the very small robots, like the one I held up, we would love to collaborate with other teams, because those robots are designed and built from an electromechanical perspective. In fact, you can even get pretty inexpensively, small Mecanum wheels that fit on the robots. So you can make a Mecanum drive bot. The software piece could use a bunch of work. The software was developed initially to use cell phones as the driver station. And we'd like to move that to using Bluetooth Xbox controllers. So if there are teams that are interested in collaborating on building that platform, it would be wonderful, not just for your team, but I think there are lots of schools that can't afford to participate in FRC because of the cost of the robots, the competition. And it would be wonderful to make sub $100 robots that are still useful for training in Python, Java, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, Mia, can we go back to you, and you can maybe talk about, I don't know if you can even bring up your Facebook page and share that screen with us to show us what you had, but then also, I guess, what are you in your space that you have, where you guys are meeting? What are some of the kind of COVID related things that you guys have done there?
So currently,
Okay.
I can work on sharing my Facebook
I got
page.
two questions at once.
But yeah, no, it's okay. I don't know. Can you see this?
Once you bring it up, he can move it up there. There you go.
Yeah. Hopefully it's. There we go.
Have 4 minutes to dial.
Sorry about that. I guess I'll just go back to what we're doing currently. So we're keeping it, I think, at a maximum of about 10 people currently in our workspace at a time. And we're working on making sure that, so this is one project that people are working on, which is the adaptive sports project. I'm trying to make sure that the video doesn't play afterwards again.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So you guys are playing golf there.
Yeah, so that's just part of what we're working on right now. Obviously, it's going to be a lot different than that and be connected to a chair eventually. But when we go into our space, we make sure that everyone signs waivers and gets like a list of questions. Everyone's social distancing and wearing masks. And we're currently obviously working on what I just showed you, which is our adaptive sports project, as well as renovations. Since we are moving locations, we're moving into a new home. So we have to put up drywall and a bunch of other things like that. So it would be nice to be able to have all hands on deck, but obviously that's not something that we can currently do.
Right. We don't have that problem. There's a question over on the other side that came through, and it's what app/program do your teams use for communications? I guess.
Yeah.
Mia, you can go first, I guess.
So we use Team Snap as well as Discord to communicate. Team Snap's nice because I know that there's like a COVID feature right now where you can ask different questions about like where you've been traveling, stuff like that. But it also gives you a nice feature where you can check availability. So yes, no, maybe if you're going to an event, which helps know how many heads we're going to have, whether it be online or in person.
Mm-hmm.
And then Discord's a little bit easier just to get like student response if there's more communication needed back and forth, because it's something that students are checking a little bit more often. So that's what we found to be most easy among like the teenagers on the team.
Okay. Chuck, how about you guys?
So since we're a school-based team, we've been using Google Classroom as a way of communicating with our students. Yeah. It's limited in that it's hard to get mentors that aren't in our school system in the Google Classroom, but there's ways of doing that. Yeah, we've been using Google Classroom. We've just adopted a new learning system, Schoology, and we're looking at ways we can use Schoology with that, as well as investigating. We got on with Basecamp, so we have to build that out yet, but we're excited about the possibility with what we have with Basecamp.
Dave?
So we've been using, even pre-COVID, TeamSnap and Slack as our primary tools. So like Mia's team, we use TeamSnap for organization, for scheduling, and we use Slack for ongoing conversations. For virtual meetings, we've been using a mix of Meet and Zoom, so Google Meet and Zoom, and those have been serving us pretty well. The school system has a relationship with Zoom that sort of makes it a little easier to do. So Chuck, I don't know if that's something that is a statewide thing or by school, but yeah, it makes the school basically have a commercial account.
Actually, we were told Zoom was outlawed in Maryland. So as far as our schools, well, there's some security issues early on. So they told us not to be using Zoom. So we're a Google Meet shop total.
Well, we like both. They work great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our schools are entirely closed, so there's no opportunity for in-person meeting.
Right.
We can't access the schools at all.
So with that, do you guys have access to your robots? Were you able to get them out of the school, or?
We've been able to get some of the equipment out by the teachers are able, so educators are able to use the school and be in the school. So they can move equipment out of the school and then someone can pick it up.
And in your case, Chuck, right, you guys don't meet in the school anyway, right?
Right. We have a separate location that we've been meeting.
So,
however, we have to follow our school's guidelines for extracurricular activities. So that's
right,
keeping us from meeting in person.
Right.
So even though we have our separate facility gears, we still have to follow county policy restrictions.
Yep. So I got a couple other questions that came in differently. Somebody couldn't get in, so they actually emailed them to me.
Okay, good.
These are not really necessarily related for you guys, but yeah, the first question is about registration and payment for FRC this year. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that exactly. It's probably registration probably isn't going to open until somewhere around the 8th, 10th, somewhere in there of October. They're still working out what the fee is going to be that's going to be charged for the season, what, if anything, any kind of refund policy would be, and so on. And I will say that there has been an issue with some teams, and Mia's happens to be one of them, where they have a grant that has to be paid before October 1st. And so there is a way to do it. It's not an easy way to do it, but we can handle that if you need to. So you can, again, contact me and we can help you get that taken care of if you have to. All the DoD funding all has that same problem. The problem is when they put the money into when you give the money to First Headquarters, it doesn't show up in your account because you're not officially in the system until after they open up registration. The second part of that question was, with the moving of the World Championship to later in the season, are we shifting our season? And the answer to that is no, we're not. So we'll basically be still planning FRC events, in the March, early April timeframe that we're going to have. And, just for those that have, because I know like Chuck, you do, and I guess, both of you, not Athelton, but the others both have FTC teams, the FTCCs, and we had already moved it out, and it's basically going to completely overlap with FRC this year. And so is FLL. So all the FLLs in all 3 states has been moved out as well. So everything is going to be running January through the school year. So we're not shifting for later than it would be anyway. I mean, we tend to lose kids. Once you hit like mid-May, it's like, especially seniors, they usually check out. So it's like, I don't think they're having Worlds in August is going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But plus, I'm not sure anybody's going to be allowed to go, even if they wanted to go. So I think that's it. We'll kind of close it out now. And I guess I'd like to thank all the teams that are here for participating and sharing information, as well as some of the teams that send in questions there. I'd also like to thank today's sponsor, which is Newport News Shipbuilding. And to close it out, we have a short video from them. Thank you.